Holy smokes, Foodservice Power Plant Network. Happy Monday night to you. You know, maybe you were working and you were grinding and you were growing and building today on this President's Day. Maybe you were off. I don't know where you were, but I hope whatever you needed to accomplish, you did. However you're ending the day, you're ending with pride and you're ready for another amazing interview tonight. Certainly one of my favorites and so many, looking at all the excitement on LinkedIn and in our Facebook group. We've got Steve Don, CEO and president of Edward Don, joining us tonight. This is a conversation I've longed for so long, and I'm so grateful to him and his team for joining us. Thankful for, the Amy Garrard, shout out to you and your team. Wonderful job promoting and getting the word out. We've got 21 people. Chris Kringley's in the house. Hi, Jason and Steve. Looking forward to the conversation. Hi, Chris. Look at this. David, great accomplishment, Steve. You aren't kidding. Looking forward to a great FSPN. I love it. Hi, everybody. Hello. Xena Dater's in the house. Listen, thank you for joining us. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, know that we have a community of food service professionals, which Steve is a part of, and so many of the Ed Don team, where we encourage each other. We use positive mindset tools and we look for the good. That's the Foodservice Power Plant Network on Facebook. Go check it out. Go find the group. I'll welcome you in. Please know that. First, also, to our sponsors. We have so many people that help make these messages possible, these positive conversations. To the Zumba team, shout out to you, Maureen, Dave, Nick, Chris, the whole crew over there. Thanks for believing in this. The Crave team, Chelsea and crew, thank you for being a part of this mission to tell stories and inspire possibility and hope. We're grateful for you. If you're watching, a couple ideas, grab a pen and a notepad. Steve has got parts of his story that I know you're going to want to have for you. We're all going through wonderful things and challenging things, and there's lessons Steve learned that might be helpful for you in your journey. So grab a pen and a notepad. Know that you are welcome to comment. Look at all this. Holy smokes. Looking forward to tonight. Glad to listen and enjoy. Josh Callahan's in the house. Yo, what is up? Yossi's in the house. Don, what an awesome story. Bill, this is amazing. Look at all this energy. This is awesome. Steve Aberisk, holy smokes. I love it. So again, join us. If you, by the way, after this, you might see this after the fact, but know that all these conversations, Steve's probably right about number 100. They're all at FS Power Plant /vlog. Go check them out. We can't wait. You're welcome there. Mike, looking forward to hearing from Steve. Our buddy Rich Packer in the house. I can't even keep up with it. When does it start? It starts right now. You know what? Let's go find him. Everybody. Steve Don, yo, brother.
Rich was just joking there because he got 18 reminders of when it starts. So I like the picture, Rich.
It is a good picture.
Looks good there. Good to see you, Jason. Thanks for being persistent, because I told you I don't compete with Monday Night Football. But little did I know it was going to be President's Day. So hopefully everybody either had the day off or celebrated our presidents.
Well, looking at, the minute I went live, we had like 35 people on, and that doesn't often happen. So I think we picked a good night and a good guest. I'm so appreciative that you joined us. And I know so many in our community are looking forward to getting to know your story. And certainly we know you. Certainly we know Edward Don and company. And it's fun to get to know a new side of you tonight. So thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Look forward to it.
Steve, for anyone who doesn't know some of your history, when I got in the industry 2008, you were, I believe you were running Edward Don at that point.
Correct? Yeah, I became president in 2001.
In 2001. So
yeah.
All I've ever known is Steve Don, the president and then CEO of Edward Don. But you've got a story that predates certainly when I got in the industry. And what's your career journey? How did you make it to where you are?
Sure. So if you talk about career journey, my first job ever at 14 years old was a caddy. So there was a country club across the street from our junior high. So I started caddying when I was 14. People would ask, what your name is, and I'd say Steve Don, and they'd be like, "Is your dad Bob Don?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, why are you caddying?" I'm like, "Because I want to make $35." So I've worked, from a young age. So I went from caddying, then I went to go work at a local sporting goods store. So in the downtown Highland Park, there was a Highland Park Sports Shop. It was sort of the hangout place, and So I played a fall sport. So we had fall sport, winter sport, sport, and we sort of rotated. So that was my second working career. And then I went from there to parking cars at Bob Chin's Crab House. So at the time, Bob Chin's was the #1 grossing restaurant in Chicago, and they had no valet. So my buddy convinced him to hire a bunch of 18-year-old kids to park cars. So that was sort of my first restaurant job. And then I had the pleasure of working for the Solo Cup Company one summer on the loading dock and the receiving dock. And it's a very long story. So originally my dad told me after summer of freshman year that he had a job for me, but it was the night shift. So as a college kid working the night shift, not so great. So instead I worked at Solo, and then they mandatory to overtime us 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it was an interesting sort of journey. And then I went to college. We sort of had a written rule, or it was a verbal and written, that you had to have outside work experience, college degree, and a graduate degree. So I didn't know if I was going to work at Edward Honda Company or not. So went to college, became very passionate about real estate, worked in real estate for a year, worked in investment banking for 2 years, got my MBA at Northwestern, worked at Disney in their commercial studio for the summer, and then I was going to go work back on Wall Street. My dad made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Now or never was the ultimatum in 1992, and he offered me the lowest pay of any graduating person in my class, so I wasn't smart enough to negotiate. So I started in sales in Elgin, Illinois, which was not very happening in 1992. And we had a gentleman by the name of Don Kirshner who had the Elgin territory for over 25 years. He had every good account in Elgin. So I had the American Legion, the VFW Hall. I had a bar that wanted to buy only Gross Flex chairs because when their patrons hit each other over the head with them, that they didn't cause, literally, like didn't get stitches. So it was a great learning experience. I knew nothing about food service. I didn't know the difference between a monkey dish, a grapefruit dish, a saucepan from a sauce pot, and sort of just went out there. And back in the day, there was no Google, so you couldn't just Google something, watch a video the way people do today. So it was a very interesting time. Luckily, the manufacturers reps in Chicago were very gracious and trained me on Fridays. So we had some great reps back then. The original Odd Couple, Barry Miller and Pete Stryker, Skip Casper on tabletop. Mike Coggins was our local rep back then for Syracuse, China. So people, long since have been great careers, sort of took me under their wing and taught me what I needed to know about being in sales. And then I became a district sales manager. So I had 10 people working for me, which was very interesting. Back then, there was no cell phones. We just got cell phones. There was no texting. There was no FaceTiming. You actually beeped. We had beepers. So you page somebody. You had pay phones. Things that people don't realize. I'm not that old, but times have definitely changed tremendously in our industry. And then I went from district sales manager to a corporate job. Then I moved to Atlanta and I ran our operation in Atlanta. So I was the warehouse transportation and inventory guy in Atlanta from 94 to 96. Came back, ran our FED division. Then I progressively went up VP of sales. I took over marketing. And then there was a succession plan in place. So my dad said he was going to retire in 2000, originally 2001. They wanted one more year. So I took over in 2002. So that's my journey.
Amazing, Steve. Hey, can I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
Can you click that? There's a little bit of that static. I think I'm getting a little bit of feedback from people. I wonder if you can click that button again that we were talking about. And maybe that will get us back. We had a couple audio things when we started, and then we clicked the button, it went away, and then it kind of came back, but maybe we'll just toggle that back and forth. Go ahead, say something again.
How about now?
It sounds great now.
Okay.
We might just have to play with it a little bit, Steve. Just toggle. Maybe it seems like there's some change, but we got this. And thank you to everybody for the feedback. I love that your dad hired you and you were the lowest paying college graduate in your school.
Yep.
And I love too that when you were caddying, I was a caddy at, I don't know, 15, where I grew up outside of Philly. By the way, everyone's commenting much better. So what I'm going to do, Steve, we're going to improvise because we
Okay.
work through hard things. I'm just going to give you this if it's happening again,
Okay.
and just toggle it again because
Yeah.
the toggling seems to be helping.
Okay.
I love that people are like, wait a minute, you're Bob Don's kid. Why are you doing this? And you're like, because I want $35.
Yep.
And, talk about learning work ethic at a young age. It's wonderful. What's okay? Answer this. You're Steve Don. You've accomplished so much, and oftentimes, who we become is an element or a reflection of our disciplines or our habits. Are there any particular disciplines in your life that you're pretty religious about that you stick with?
Okay. So, yes, they're not very exciting though, but every day I play free cell first thing when I wake up. So it's
Okay.
sort of like mental gymnastics, sort of like, to wake up the mind. Then I do Wordle, and then daily sales hits my inbox at 7 a.m.
Okay.
So I get the daily scorecard. And then I have started a new thing in December. I started working out with a trainer. I've never been a trainer person. I was always sort of self motivated, but I found a guy working much more on flexibility. For those who know my dad, he's had some back, hip problems, sort of hunched over. And I've said, I see my future and it's not good. I joke, lucky sperm club. I got it in business, but not in genetics. I'll take the business side. I'm not selfish. So I've been pretty religious about that twice a week, working out with the trainer.
Good
I
for
know
you.
there's some people laughing out there but yes.
I think it's great. I think
Yeah.
it's great. We were like my 11-year old and I were stretching last night to get ready. I was like, buddy, I need to start stretching a little bit more to wake up okay in the morning. What's how about joy? There we talked discipline, things that get you
Yeah.
going. Shout out to Wordle. By the way, Steve, I came home from NAFM and my 11-year-old, I was like, he was on his iPad and we were going to go run some errands. He's like, Dad, I got to bring my iPad. I have to do the New York Times Wordle. And I was like, what are you talking about?
That's
But
awesome.
now we do that. Love it. There's a lot of Wordle people on here. There you
Yes.
go. That's
It's
awesome.
amazing.
What's loving this? Me too. Talk about we also need things, and just including the disciplines,
Yeah.
things that consistently keep us going, keep us in check. You get the daily scorecard every morning at 7.
Yeah.
We also need things that bring us joy, that make us come alive outside of work when we're away. What are some of those things for you that you're loving that really just make you come alive?
First is my kids, so seeing them, develop and
Hmm.
become adults. I got a 22-year-old son, a 21-year-old daughter. Early on it was going to their events, and now it's having life experiences with them.
I bet it's when you and we've caught up a fair amount in the last
Yeah.
6 months, running into each other at different events, and you're often talking about a parents' weekend at college with
Yeah.
one of your kiddos, or all these things.
Yeah, so that was
Here's
post NAFM. I had the final fraternity dads weekend, followed by my daughter's 21st birthday. So went from Orlando, Ann Arbor, to New York City. So it was a little crazy weekend. So, well, the one thing with this job, people talk about work-life balance. So one of the best things, I was at a chain event in Indria Nui. I probably butchered her name, but the former CEO of Pepsi was the speaker. Very successful woman executive, Pepsi, one of the largest, publicly traded companies in the world. And she was talking about work-life balance. She said, there is no work-life balance. And if anybody tells you that, they're crazy, because it's very difficult. And she said she struggled with it. And she was talking to somebody and she said, the person said, well, what's wrong? And she said, well, I missed my daughter's recital the other day. He said, well, how many recitals have you made? And she's like, I made 8 out of 10. He goes, well, then you should celebrate the 8 that you made and not focus on the 2 that you missed.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing about his perspective. So I tried to go to, all my kids' activities, but there are just certain ones, you couldn't be at everything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, one of them was one of our customers had an event on Super Bowl Sunday, which was often my daughter's birthday. So I tried never to miss my kid's birthday. I owe my daughter several that I missed, but trying to make up for it at this point.
Good for you. Someone put in here golf. You a golfer too?
Yes. So I don't know who that was, but yes. So that is my other joy, is golf. Golf got me through the
Let's
golf
go.
got me through the pandemic. Uh, I don't know if that's any better.
Yep, it is. There's something about when we hit a certain point, it gets
Wow.
staticky. So we'll just keep. I'll keep giving you the finger, this finger, not
Okay.
not the other finger.
Yeah,
I'll keep giving you this finger.
Okay, that's weird because I just toggle one thing on off. So yeah, so golf is my therapy. When times were tough during COVID in Illinois, we only had twosomes. So I would go to work. My son would go to class online, and we'd meet at the golf club at 6 o'clock and walk 9 holes because we were only allowed to play 9 holes. So that was an interesting thing for the governor of Illinois. Only twosomes and only 9 holes. So
Amazing.
I'm not going to get into politics, but
There you go. We'll take a left turn. We'll go the other way. Let me ask you this. You talked about your kids. Clearly, your family is important to you. A huge question. So for so many people in the industry, particularly those starting families,
Sure.
those in the the earlier parts of their career, we're asking ourselves there, and how do you do it all? I mean, you run a $1 billion organization. You stay close. You go from NAFM to Notre Dame to New York to be with your kids.
Not Notre Dame. No.
Oh,
Michigan.
Michigan.
Anti Notre Dame.
I said it wrong. It's
okay. I hated Michigan. I definitely hate Notre Dame.
There you go. How do you do it all, Steve? How do you manage an organization the way you do and care for your family the way you do?
Yeah. I was not always that good at it. I definitely, worked way too hard at certain points in my life. A couple of years ago, I got pneumonia. It was not good. I was sick, and my wife's like, "You're not getting any better." It was pre-COVID. There was flu going around. The doctor's like, "Let me give you a flu test." He's like, "No flu." He goes, "I want to take a chest X-ray." So I had pneumonia, and it definitely taught me there that work is important, but you need to take care of yourself. And I think you talk about that on your weekly podcast here. That you're no good to anybody if you're not healthy. So I definitely at certain times probably worked too much. Didn't devote enough time to my wife and my kids, but. I did the best I could. There was one time my kids gave me a hard time about working too much.
Huh.
So I said to them, I said, do you like going on, spring break, Christmas break? They go to summer camp. They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm happy not to work as hard. You tell me which ones you want to give up. And they said, yo, it's okay. You can work that hard. So
they can appreciate it as well. And I love, you seem like a person willing to learn. I feel like many people, kids or families say, and it's easy for us in food service to go all in. We're passionate people by nature. It's easy to want to serve our customers, and you're serving customers every ounce, every inch of this country. It's easy to give it all, but to pay attention, to listen, and say, you know what, I can adjust a little bit. I can fly some extra flights. I can do hard things and be tired at the end of it because you all matter. I think it's beautiful. We oftentimes, we talk about all we've accomplished, and it's easy for so many people to look at you and say, well, my gosh, that's Steve Don. It's, and not recognize moments of challenge that we all have. We all have times that are hard, times that we're down. Was there a challenge in your life, Steve, that you went through that really taught you what you were made of?
Yeah. So let's start before that. People like, oh, so some of my friends joke with me, oh, you were born on third base, life's easy. But for us, It's a 100-year-old company. We started at the top. So when you take over an industry leader who was the number one company, in the FES giants for years, there's only one place to go.
Yeah.
You can maintain number one, but so it was interesting because I definitely I'll never forget the day when Trimark bought Strategic, and it was the first time ever we weren't the number one company in FES Giants. It comes out April 1st. It used to be in the mail, then it was online, and it bothered me. Like the first week, I was like, okay, this is a problem. And then I started doing some research, and there was a famous talk I gave that Pepsi was the number two to Coke. Not too bad to be Pepsi. And then, Apple's actually number two to Samsung. So I said, you know what, being number two is not that bad. But then Clark came along and Webster round skyrocketed. And then I gave a speech that we're now number three, which is Dr. Pepper. And nobody wants to be Dr. Pepper. So that was just in jest. But, so yeah, it's definitely not easy, in terms of the biggest challenge, in my life was, the day my brother died. Because, it wasn't just for me, but, our entire company. And I had a young family. Perfect timing. Okay. If that's any better. This is crazy. Technology. You gotta love it, right? So that was a huge test for me because, I had a choice of, feeling sorry for myself or, embracing what happened and, making the best of it. And, I was out of work for like a week and then, I went back at it because, the company needed leadership and, it wasn't going to go away. And, it's something you got to deal with every day.
Yeah. Gosh, Steve, thanks for sharing that. I never knew your brother, but I hear about him often from people. And there's a tribute to him that Edward Don and Company began, correct? The Adam Don Foundation?
So we started a foundation. We had a charity golf outing. And, we had great turnout, obviously. Vendors were extremely supportive, and it was great. With 15 years, we raised a ton of money. Our three main, recipients is the first tee, which, if you don't know, is, yes, it's about golf, but it's about getting kids engaged and teaching them life's lessons, mostly underprivileged inner city kids, and it golf's the hook to get them to come out. So they built in Chicago. They're right downtown Chicago. They took over, this sort of dilapidated old clubhouse at the Maravitz Center. So it's right in the city. So that's one. The other is we support the Northern Illinois Food Bank. So I don't know, about 25 years ago, so has this Stop Hunger dinner. And it's used to be a phenomenal event. It's turned into a golf outing, but it used to be in a ballroom in by their headquarters, and they had two types of awards. They'd have young people, so kids between the ages of 6 and 18 who started these amazing projects. I was like, when I was 18, I wasn't starting a food bank and having food drives, and then it's also Sodexo employees, and it's not the executives or the managers, it's line cooks who are started a food bank, who have a food drive, who are cooking meals for other people, and just amazing stories. And I think we're all in the restaurant business, and yes, we know it's a problem, but something like 20% of the population's at risk for hunger. So the backpack program gives food. A lot of kids get their breakfast and lunch at school, and then over the weekend they are not guaranteed having food. So that's the backpack program. And then the last is this PADS Women's Shelter. We also then supported a couple years ago, Rick Bayless came to us. So if you don't know Rick Bayless, Frontera Grill, Frontera Foods, with this impact culinary training program they wanted to do. So there's a thing called the Hatchery in Chicago, which is a nonprofit sort of food incubator. And it's 16 kitchens, and some of them were outfitted and some weren't. And one of them was outfitted as a culinary academy. So it's a 12-week program. So 8 weeks, 16 kids from inner city Chicago come in. They get knife skills, basic kitchen equipment that we put in there and donated. So they learn how to operate a fryer. They learn how, to saute, braise, boil, and enough skills that then they get a 4-week paid internship. And then they have a certificate that they can go to any Chicago restaurant and say, "Hi, I'm a trained culinarian." So we did that pre-COVID. And then the latest thing that we did was the Greater Chicago Food Depository, which is one of the largest food banks. It's in Cook County. Most food banks distributed bulk food. So yeah, Robbie Petchick, I don't know who that's posted that.
I don't know.
But so the Greater Chicago Food Depository, they mostly bulk food to soup kitchens. They decided to put together a prepared meal kitchen. So to do actually frozen prepared meals for Meals on Wheels and other programs. So shout out to Middleby Cares. I solicited a bunch of people in the industry, and Middleby stepped up and is donating almost the entire kitchen. One of our competitors actually was involved with the project on the design side. I think they're maybe a little pissed because they lost their order. One of our sales guys value engineered it, and shout out to Reef because he did a great job. And then I got the equipment donated, but it's all for a good cause. And thank you, to Tim Fitzgerald and team at Middleby for really stepping up on this one.
Way to go, Middleby team. Steve, I've just got a couple thoughts. Why don't you do this again while I go, just in case? I think, tragedy, hard things befall everyone. And I think all you can ask is that any of us, aside from surviving that pain, that challenge, is that we can someday, some way, find a way to turn pain into something good, into something positive. And kudos to you and your team. We are proud to contribute to the project. I'm guessing, I bet you that's Dave or Steve or someone at Middleby. Amazing, awesome. There's nothing better than giving back. Absolutely. I think that's all you can ask. And Steve, you are doing it. And you carry your brother's legacy on in beautiful, beautiful ways. You and an entire industry. It's pretty amazing. Congrats. Thank you.
Yeah. So there was one other, adventure. This is not the Adam Don Foundation, but this is, my family personally. At the University of Michigan, we got involved, and we're talking like we've done scholarships at Penn, and so asking them what their need was, and they actually said that the food bank is need. They have the maize and blue cupboard, and I'm like, Michigan has a problem with a food bank, and they're like, yeah, we have a lot of students who are on scholarship, and if they lose support from their parents, a parent gets laid off or gets hurt or something, the kids they don't have money for food on the weekends or even home care products and things like that. So at the University of Michigan, 40,000 kids, 5,000 of them access the food bank on campus on a regular basis. So it's places you don't expect it to be.
Never in a million years would I thought there could be a kid going to college, figuring out how to afford that and do that and struggling to eat.
Yeah.
The bounds of the generosity appear endless, and it's pretty amazing. I'm going to take you to a different extreme.
Yep.
Finish this statement. I'm happiest when.
There's several. So when we're winning as a team, so that's at work. Yeah. when I'm spending time with my family on the personal side.
Those are pretty great answers. Winning feels great, and being with your people feels great. Appreciate that you're an approachable CEO, says Robert. At sales trainings, you always stop by our booth, Tucker Safety, and engage us in conversation. I always appreciated that. Thanks, Robert. Thank you for caring enough to share so many, to do so much. Thank you for all you do, Steve. Look at this. Let me ask, how about pride? You know, we talk a lot in our community in the Food Service Power
Yeah.
Plant Network about. The post this morning was about giving all we have. Where it was a Teddy Roosevelt quote about wherever you are, give it all you have. And this idea that cultivating pride in our lives is contagious, and it releases dopamine in our brains, being proud. And all of us at the end of the day want to be proud as who you are, as a parent, as a spouse, as a business owner, as a leader, as a friend, all of these things. Can you tell us about two-part question?
Yeah.
What are you most proud of professionally? And is there something you would say you're most proud of personally?
Sure. So professionally, I'm proud of what we've accomplished at Don, particularly after COVID. We always said that the restaurant business was recession resistant. We learned we weren't pandemic proof. So, we didn't get PPP money because we have over 500 employees. So we had to do it all on our own, and not faulting anybody who government's giving it, take it, God bless you. But all of our people stepped up. So everybody pitched in, and, we didn't have to ask twice. People volunteered, they understood what was going on. We made sure, everybody was whole at the end. But we went from having the best year ever to March of 2020 going, holy crap, we might not have a business. It was our 99th year in business. And one of the things that we were taught was that we were here to serve the business wasn't here to serve us, and we were stewards of the business. And I was like, oh my God, this might bring the ship down. And we've did everything we could in the past, to make sure that the company was successful, our people were successful. We talked about, our customer success was our success, and if we help them be successful, everything will take care of itself. And then it was like, this was something that nobody could imagine. I remember in January, we were talking about maybe there were some supply chain issues, but the thought that the entire food service industry basically could be shut down for the amount of time it was shut down for. And I give credit to the operators because people pivoted very quickly. People who'd never done takeout, were figuring out how to do takeout. People started producing meals, for government agencies that were looking to feed people. So just a tremendous group effort to the entire ecosystem, and obviously certain industries benefited, certain industries were hurt by it. Clearly the restaurant industry, but I mean the resiliency, and now it's coming back stronger than ever. I mean, it's crazy. I tried to get home the other day, and it's President's Weekend. You cannot find a seat. There's 3 airports, to get back to Chicago. There are no seats available. Forget it that it's 3 times or 4 times what it cost a year ago. There aren't even any seats available. Then you try and make a, open table reservation on a Friday or Saturday night. Good luck. There's nothing. So that's good for our business, at least.
Kudos to you for bobbing and weaving and rebounding the way you did, taking care of your people. This is Laura. Steve's leadership and passion for the business and understanding of the personal side drives our culture. We're the lucky ones. Thanks for sharing, Laura.
Laura runs our HR. Thank you, Laura.
Well said, Laura. Steve, finish this sentence. A career in food service will make you
crazy. No, I mean, To me, it's a great industry. It will make you whatever you want to make of it. I mean, that is one thing about this industry. The sky's the limit. We have people who enter the industry with no experience, and when I started at Rodana Company, $1 million in sales was like the 4 minute mile because you had to go see every customer. We didn't have cell phones, we didn't have laptops, there was no Don.com. Now we've got people, writing $10 million, $15 million, and they've grown their sales. And, yes, you have to work hard, but you have to work hard in any industry.
Yeah.
But, there is, in sales at our company, you control your destiny. So it's up to you. We give you a lot of support, but,
I think it's a never-ending story. I think that answer is brilliant. It will make you whatever you want to make of it, and isn't that true about life? Whatever you're in, it can chew you up and spit you out if your perspective is it's too much, or we all have the choice on attitude of it, on how we respond to hard work or a pandemic or all of these crazy things that happen. And you're right. There's a lot of people in our industry. There's some that got chewed out. That got it was too much. And there's a lot of people who said, "Bring it! I got this. I'm doing it with my food service family. We're going to grow," and their resiliency made them stronger. I think that's true, Steve.
Well, and a lot of it too is your perspective and how you look at it. Yes, it's a challenge and it's a grind and there's stress, but you got to look. And I've never been a glass half full guy. I've been more. People say I'm pessimistic. I like to joke that I'm realistic, not pessimistic. That there's a difference. But it's amazing. When you talk to people in the industry, and you talk to them, and then you can just tell if they're successful or not. Because some person's gonna tell you everything that's wrong, and yes, every company's got issues. We've got our fair share of issues at Edward Honda Company. We're by no means perfect. Nobody's perfect, but if you focus on the negative all the time, it's just sort of a downward spiral. And if you focus on the positive, you sort of get that upward momentum and upward spiral. So, you sort of can determine which path you want to take. And at any time, yes, we do get caught maybe in some downward spiral, but you got to right the ship and change the course.
I think it's brilliant, and you're right. We say in our community all the time, the Food Service Power Plant Network, you will find what you look for. And if you look for that which stinks or that which is crummy, you're going to find it. And if you look for the gift and you look for the opportunity and here's how we've grown, then you're going to find that. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Love the industry, love the people. I think there's a lot of people here that would agree with that. Steve, what's the next great challenge? You've done so much. You're running this cool, awesome, amazing company. What's the next fun adventure for you that gets you excited?
I think sort of the next chapter post-COVID. So we were doing great as a company in 2019. We had a ton of momentum. We had done 4 acquisitions. We were sort of new in the acquisition game. COVID hit. We were a little conservative because we are conservative by nature. And we just wanted to make sure, we got through COVID as well as we were as good coming out of it as we were going into it. So we've got that in the rearview mirror now. We have always sort of outperformed our competitors in times of trouble. So if you look after 2001, after 2008, the financial crisis, once we got through our SAP implementation. So I'm looking forward to playing offense. We've been playing defense for a little while, so a little bit more fun to play offense.
I love it. I'm excited for that for you.
Our team's very fired up. We've got a great team, and they've been a little bit caged up over the last couple of years. So we're going to take the gloves off, and we've always tried to grow twice the industry growth rate. In order to do that, you got to take market share. So the good news is the industry is growing, plenty of opportunity. So we're looking forward to taking it, to the Edward On team.
I think many of us are excited for what that looks like. Who's someone saying, I love offense. Let's do this. Heck yes. It's so fun to be on offense, right? Go get it.
Yeah.
Steve, real quick, one more, just in case. And while you do that, one of the questions we like to ask people when we end our conversations right before the end
We're at the end already?
Believe it or not, we're getting close.
God.
It's success. The belief of the reason we started these conversations is this idea that success leaves clues, that it's not, we aren't born successful. We all are born with different talents, but that, there's a science to success and we all might define them differently, what we think success really looks like. And so I like to ask our guests, how do you define success in your life?
Okay. So, people ask me like, you guys, when are we going to be $1 billion? When are we going to be 2 billion? I'm like, that's a number. We want to be the best we can be. Just a number is not important. And, let's worry about ourselves and not worry so much about, what everybody else is doing. But about 12 years ago, my son went to a summer camp, and at Parents Weekend, they have like a service, and part of this, it's not religious at all, but it was just sort of a service, and they talk about their camp and their ideals, and one of the things is this poem called "The Man in the Glass." So this is sort of my view of success. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what the man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back at the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end. And you've passed your most difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheated the man in the glass. So I think, so to me, it's how you feel about your own success and not worrying too much about, how others, view success. It's what you define it as.
Gosh, I can't believe I've never heard that poem. And yeah, you and me both. That's beautiful. It's not easy. I don't think, I'll say this for me, maybe for many. Powerful message. Mirrors can tell quite a story, Michael says. Way to bring it home, Steve. Holy smokes. No kidding. What a great message. Thank you for sharing that. Someone's dad used to recite that. I'm not looking in the group, but it's easy. I would say for me, it's easy to judge myself based on my perception of what others say. And you're right, Steve. Ultimately, it's what I say about me and what I think, who I am as a human, as a husband, as a father, as an industry professional, as a friend, that matters. And I really appreciate that you're able to look in the glass. And I think it's a gift for many people to look in the glass and appreciate what they see. Man, love it. Love that poem, says Amy. What a powerful message. Well, we're not quite done. We're almost done.
Yeah.
I'm going to sneak something in on you.
Yeah.
That said, you looking at the man in the glass.
Yeah.
It also is true. I'm glad that you appreciate what you see, and that's a gift for any human. It's important to know that you, when a lot of other people see you, they see someone they appreciate too, Steve, because who you are, the man you see, is made a difference in the lives of many. And at the end of our conversations, we like to read what we call encouraging words to let people know the difference they make, because oftentimes we don't hear it. We hear the things that aren't working great or whatever. And it's important that you're making a difference. So I'm going to read you just some notes from some industry colleagues. We're going to start with John Miles of Steelite International.
So
Um,
love John. I remember the first time I met John when he had first taken over Steelite. And it's impressive to see what he's built over the years.
no kidding, right? What an unbelievable company and organization and what he's building. Steve Don recognized the need to drive distribution efficiency through technology very early. As the industry caught up, Don was in a great position to capitalize on their early investments and foresight. Steve has a unique advantage because Don is a multi-generational business in our industry. Steve understands every aspect of the business, and as a result, makes great long-term decisions. Steve has never lost the appetite to compete, the drive to win, and the expectation for excellence. And I think that is reflected in the culture at Don.
Well, thanks, John. And I could say the same things about John. So, they've obviously not given up their will to compete and continue to buy companies and get in new categories. And he has a great team over there. So thank you, John, and the rest of the Steelite team.
Tim Lavenda of Pactiv. I've had the pleasure of knowing Steve for more than 25 years. His vision, people-centric leadership, and his passion drives his team to be the best version of themselves. He has successfully led the Don organization to become the market leaders they are today and position them for limitless success in the future.
I appreciate that from Tim. So the crazy thing is, when I first met Tim, he was at Prairie Packaging, and I had to beg him to sell Edward on a company because there was a little bit of a conflict with his largest customer. But it's also impressive. Tim went from Prairie Packaging, to Pactiv, and I think he's pretty much the last man standing over there, Pactiv, from the Prairie Packaging days. So great guy.
Tim, smart decision to say yes long time ago.
Yes.
To open up a new customer. Well done. Mike Bauer, CEO of Libby. Steve is an icon in the food service industry. In addition to leading Don's national footprint and coverage across many segments, he continues to mentor and to guide people throughout the industry. Personally, I admire Steve for the genuine relationships he continues to cultivate with customers, suppliers, and associates through Don.
Thank you, Mike.
Really cool. Another one of our mutual friends, Pete Angenin. I'll be celebrating.
He asked you to say nice things. He works for us. Just kidding.
I'll be celebrating 27 years at Don later this year. In my time at Don, my roles have changed, and so too have my interactions and relationship with Steve. As a young sales rep, the main objective was to hit your numbers and to fly under the radar. As I moved into various levels of management, I began to really see the skill and tact with which Steve steered the company. Most recently, through the pandemic and supply chain chaos, when there were times, he surely must have been ready to pull his hair out. His demeanor seemingly never wavered, and his calm, straightforward approach provided stability when there were far more questions than answers. During our Supplier Expo and our Bell Ringers Awards, the thank yous to Steve and the Don family for providing opportunity and creating an environment where you have the freedom to be yourself are genuine and unanimous. As for me, I greatly appreciate the opportunities I've been given and at times the patience I've been afforded. I mean, I don't always make it easy.
Thank you, Pete. He's just jealous that I have hair that I can pull out still. But no, Pete, has done a great job. Pete's an example of, you can make it what you want. Because when he started, he was a young sales guy out of Houston. We had a great team in Houston, and he's worked his way up from district manager to regional manager, moved to great sales guy because he convinced his wife to move to Chicago from Texas. So, but no, Pete's done a nice job, and thanks for the kind words.
I love it. I've got two more for you. While I get ready for this one, you might just, again, before the end, just in case. This is from Jeff Weiland. VP Sales and Merchandising at your company. Here are a few thoughts, he writes. I've thoroughly enjoyed working directly for you for just about my entire 18 and a half years with Edward Don and Company. In addition to our significant work accomplishments together, it's readily apparent how much your family means to you, which is at the top of my list as well. I'll always remember your support and your caring during the two toughest times of my life. You've always allowed me to be myself and do things the way I felt worked best while also offering thoughtful suggestions. You've always made time for me when needed. Not easy when running a $1 billion business. I appreciate being able to set up time to talk through the best way to do something or try to resolve an issue with you. And it's uncanny how you're always able to come up with a thoughtful question or a better way to do something, no matter the topic, often leaving me thinking, why didn't I think of that? Really beautiful words, Jeff.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff because, Jeff lost his son, which is tough. And especially, during a tough time, it's never easy to go through mourning, but, part of it was during COVID and you're sort of isolated. And Jeff is a great guy. And the fact that, he was able to sort of continue to lead his team, not only through his personal struggles, but through the company. And then we threw a computer hack on top of it. And so, Jeff's been great to work with for 18 years. And, I give him a lot of credit because I know how difficult, but he's a great dad, now he's got some grandchildren, and great leader. His people love him. And even though he's a Badger, we still like each other.
I'm glad you could overcome your differences.
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for those words and thinking about you, man. Lastly, your friend Greg Fisher, Executive VP at Cambro, who just, I think, had his retirement party, right? A couple weeks ago?
Oh, unfortunately at NAFLM. So we're, I think he's officially no longer at the end of the month, which hopefully is going to change his mind because Greg's going to be sorely missed.
I think, no kidding. I've known Steve Don for 35 years. We basically grew up in this industry together. We've shared information over the years on the challenges with technological improvements and consolidations and mergers and better service to customers. And I've always admired Steve for his integrity and his passion. He's done an incredible job growing Edward Don and Company throughout the years. He's a great listener, and he's always looking to continually improve Don and improve himself. He's always been a proponent of strong relationships with all channels of our industry. Steve is humble, he is smart, and he has quick wit. Bottom line is, he's a class act, and he's an absolute pleasure to work with and know.
Thank you, Greg. And Greg was a great help when we moved out to California in 1999. And was a good, close friend of my brother's, and always a gentleman. And, he, like I said, enjoyed working with them, and we are definitely going to miss him. So.
Steve, I can't thank you enough for tonight. I don't know what I expected when we signed up to do this, but I will tell you that as a listener, it was amazing to hear your story and your honesty and your vulnerability, an absolute gift. The whole point of these conversations is that we have people who come on and share it as it is, the good and the bad, so that anyone can relate. And thank you for being that. For anyone watching, to echo, I always write down a couple notes. Number one, I think the key is start your day with free cell. It's, you think about Steve's story, and here's the reality. We all have stuff, number one. You can work through hard stuff. There's stuff that at times might feel like it might take you out, and it doesn't have to. You can keep going. You lean into your people. You lean into your team. You lean into your community. You pull every ounce of grit inside of you out, and you keep going. And at some point, if you're in that spot now, you'll find a way to turn hard, challenge, pain, grief into something life-giving, like Steve and Don has for, Adam Don, and all the ways they honor him by giving to so many. The other thing I'd say that was a standout for me tonight was, the industry will make you whatever you make of it, whatever perspective you choose to have, whatever attitude you choose to have towards challenge, however you choose to see it is what you're going to get back. And if you choose to see negative all the time, it probably will eat you up. But that's like any industry. We're no different. And if you choose to see the gift, if you choose to see the blessing of relationship, the blessing of authenticity, of partnership, of working through things, then you're going to find good and you're going to find a home here. And not only will you have a wonderful career, you're going to pull out a lot of amazing friends and relationships. Look at these 6 folks who shared for Steve tonight.
The other thing too. Sorry. So the other thing too, just to echo on that is, so yes, you said it in any industry, but I think particularly this industry, because we are in the hospitality business. And even though we might be suppliers, all the people we work with are in the hospitality business. And so I think makes it even more special than other industries where you might just be selling a part that goes in some, mechanical thing. But I think the hospitality aspect really makes it, you get back what you give.
Yeah, really well said. You get back what you give. Look at all these comments. Great interview. So proud to be a part of the Don family. Thank you, Steve, for your leadership and the endless opportunities. Gosh, look at this. Thank you, as always, for a great conversation. Steve, thank you for your leadership and your kindness. I love it. Great meeting you, Steve. Don, says Dean. I love it, Dean. Thank you, gentlemen. Fantastic. Everyone, thanks for joining us. A wonderful night. I hope wherever you are, you end it feeling some level of hope. I hope you end it feeling some level of connection. Know that I do, and we do together. This conversation, there's been a lot of people that couldn't watch tonight. You might be watching in replay tomorrow or the next couple of days. It will also be on our website where all of our conversations are, fspowerplant.com/vlog. You can go check it out. Steve's will be there tomorrow. And we'll get the word out about that as well. Everybody have a great night. Steve, again, thank you, my friend.
Thank you.